Democracy. It's a word we've heard since we were little, and until recently, I believed America was a democratic nation, a land of opportunity, freedom, justice, and liberty. Recent political elections, however, have made me question whether that's really true. I began to talk politics with friends and coworkers of mine and found a common trend. A lot of them don't vote. Americans don't believe their vote matters, especially in presidential elections. If the Electoral College was eliminated and replaced by a popular vote, more Americans would most likely take place in the election process. In order to ensure America lives up to its high standards, we must implement policy change. The 2012 voter turnout report from the Bipartisan Policy Center states voter turnout in the 2012 presidential election was only 57.5%. Meaning 93 million Americans didn't vote in 2012. Voting is a way for a citizen's voice and opinion to be heard, to elect a politician that votes on bills, to implement change that reflects their interest. So low voter turnout leads to a deeper problem. Sean McElwee, in an article, Why Most Americans Don't Vote, in the July 2015 issue of American Algebra, states less than 20% of Americans believe the government works for the benefit of the people, and that 54% of non-voters mention corruption in the government. The government is made by the people, for the people, and should hear the voice of the people. There have been 3 instances in the past, including the 2000 presidential election of George W. Bush, where a president was elected who didn't win the popular vote. This is undemocratic, and we must implement change to eliminate the Electoral College to ensure this doesn't happen again. The Electoral College was implemented by our founding fathers, and it means that people don't directly vote for the president. They vote for electors of their states, who then go on to cast a vote for a presidential candidate. Each state has a certain number of electors equal to the amount of members they have in the Senate. This creates a significant overrepresentation of small states, according to Eric Black in the Minnesota Post of October 2012. Electors also have no restrictions and can vote in any way, and usually pledge to a candidate before a vote. So if electors are not influenced by the people, why do the people bother to vote in the first place? This is a question many Americans are asking themselves. They see no true value in their vote. The American voice should be a strong voice, and was at one point, but has now turned to a faint whisper, but we can't let it turn to silence. We need to speak up and demand change in our government. With the elimination of the Electoral College, a national popular vote must take its place. Mike Edwards, in the September 2012 issue of the Huffington Post, states that when each vote counts equally, politicians will talk of issues important to all Americans. One man, one vote. That's democracy. Each person should feel important and significant, that their voice is heard in the government. 75% of Americans support a national vote, according to Leslie Marshall in the October 12 issue of the US News. If people knew their vote mattered and that their voice was going to be heard and make an actual change to their government, they would most likely vote. But since they don't feel that way, they aren't voting. Almost half of eligible Americans didn't vote in 2012. Voter turnout rates are decreasing, along with the morale of our citizens. An unfair system has been in place for far too long and must be repealed to ensure every citizen their basic civil rights. So eliminating the Electoral College and implementing a national popular vote is the only way to ensure American democracy and that each American's individual voice is heard.